Decimals and rounding. A decimal number is a number that contains a decimal point based on the number 10, tenth parts, and powers of 10. They represent fractions whose denominators are a power of 10 and whose numerators are expressed by figures placed to the right of a decimal point. What does each line between the whole numbers 2 and 3 represent on this number line? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines creating 10 parts. So 10 parts. We're going to split up 1 by 10. And that answer, 10 going into 1, is 0.1. So 2.1, 2.2, and so on. Each line represents 1/10 that is being added to 2. So we're splitting up a value of 1 into 10 parts. And each part then has a width of 0.1. What does each line between the decimal numbers 4.3 and 4.4 represent on this number line? All right, well, we're dividing up a total of 0.1 into how many parts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 parts. So what's 0.1 divided by 10? Well, we can add a 0. 10 goes into 10 one time with no remainder. So we add our decimal and a 0, 0.01. So each of these has a width of 0.01. So 4.3 plus 0.01 gives us 4.31, 4.32, and so on. Each line represents 1/100th, or 0.01, of 4.3. What does each line between the decimal numbers 0.63 and 0.64 represent on this number line? All right, we are dividing up a total distance of 0.01, right? So that's the difference. So 0.64 minus 0.63 gives us 0.01. That's the total distance. We want to divide it up into 10 pieces. So 0.01 divided by 10, well, we have to add a 0 here. So we're going to have a 1 here, 0.001. So if we add 0.001 to here, we get 0.631, 0.632, and so on. Each line represents 1/1000th, or 0.001, of 0.63. Let's learn how to round decimals using the following examples. Round 687.268 to the nearest tenths place. So this is the tenths place, the one immediately to the right of the period. When rounding decimals, put your pencil point under the place value that you are rounding to. So right here. All right, so we're going to put our pencil under the digit in the tenths place, right here. Then we're going to look to the right. Is this digit 5 or more? If the answer is yes, this number, the 2, is going to increase by 1. However, if this number was 4 or less, then the 2 would have remained a 2. And everything over here to the left of the decimal point will stay the same in this case. And what happened to the digits to the right of the tenths place? Remember, it used to be 0.268. But as soon as we rounded this 2 up to a 3, those became zeros. However, when zeros are to the right of the decimal point, we leave them off. Let's round this number to the hundredths place. So remember, 7 is in the tenths, 3 is in the hundredths, and 2 is the number we're going to look at. 2 is 4 or less, which means 3 is going to remain as is, and these are all going to become zeros. Therefore, the answer is 8.73. Because the number in the thousandth place was less than 5, we end up rounding this number down to 8.73. Which of these decimal numbers are going to round to 0.02? All right, let's see here. So 0.01, we look at this digit. This is 4 or less, which means this remains the same. So it's not that one. Here, 0.01, we're going to round to the hundredths. So that's the hundredths. This is what we look at. The 6 is greater than 5. Therefore, those will become zeros. That will become a 2. Yes, this number does round up to 0.02. Here, there's the hundredths. There's the thousandths. That is less than 4, less than 5. Therefore, this will round down to 0.01, not that one. However, here, this is 5 or greater. Therefore, it's going to become a 0, and that 1 is going to become a 2. So that one as well. And here as well, that 8 is going to become a 0, and it's going to round this 1 up to a 2. So as you can see, on the number line, you have 0.01 down here, 0.02 up here. Anything that's halfway through, halfway between, or greater is going to round up to this one. Anything that's below the halfway point is going to round down to that one. When rounding to a specific place, your answer must have a digit in that place. So for example, let's round 23.97 to the nearest tenth. Tenth is the 9. That's in the 10th spot. We're going to look at that 7. 7 is greater than 5. So it is going to round this 9 up. This becomes a 0. The 9 rounds up to a 10, but you can't put 10 into just this one spot. So actually, this is going to become a 0 as well. And then the 3, we're going to add a 1 to this one. So this one's going to round up to a 4. And then the 9, this spot here, the 10th spot, is a 0. So therefore, the answer is 24.0. Now, usually we would leave off these zeros at the end. However, because we rounded to the 10th place, we need to have a number there. Round this number to the nearest hundredths place. All right, the hundredths place is where the 9 is. So we look to the right and we see it is a 5. Therefore, it will round this up. So these become zeros. The 9 also becomes a 0 because it has to round up to a 10, which means we're going to round the 4 up to a 5. The answer is 687.5, but are we done? No, we need this 0 here because we have to have the hundredths place in the number. And there you have it, 687 and 5/10. Identify a number from the top row with its rounded equivalent in the bottom row. The number inside each box should match the number below the box when rounded to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so this number rounded to the nearest hundredth, well, that's the hundredth, and here's the number we look at. This will round up to 5.03, which is not an option, so we're not going to use it. Here, that's the hundredth, that's what we look at. Yes, this will round that up to an 8. This becomes a 0. This is 5.08. So this number 5.079 is going to end up in this box because this number rounded to the nearest hundredth equals 5.08. All right, here, this is the hundredth. This is the number to the right. This will not round this up. So therefore the answer is 5.10. That's going to go here. All right, next, hundredth, spot to the right. Yes, it will round it up. That becomes a 2. That becomes a 0. That's not an option, so we're not going to use it. Here, that's the hundredth. That's the number to the right. That's greater than 5. Therefore, this is going to become a 7. That's going to become a 0. So it's going to go over here, 5.066. And finally, I'm assuming this one's going to go here, but let's just check. There's the hundredths. Here's the number to the right. Yes, it's greater than 5. Therefore, this one's going to round up to a 1. That's going to become a 0. And we get 5.11. And there you have it. And there you go. All the answers. Use rounding to estimate answers to problems. At a restaurant, a burger is $5.99, fries are $3.85, and a small drink is $1.29. Round to the nearest dollar to estimate the cost to purchase all three items. So $5.99 would round up to 6. $3.85 would round up to 4. You can see here that if we want to round to this spot here, we're going to look at that number. 8 is greater than 5, therefore this will become zeros, and that will round up to a 4. Here, 1.29, we're going to look, we want to round to this spot, we're going to look at that number. That number is not greater than 4, it's not 5 or greater, therefore these will just become zeros, and this will round down to 1. Therefore, 6 plus 4 plus 1 is 11. It's going to cost about $11 to purchase all three items.